Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage CEO and founder of Brightidea, Matt Greeley.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Maybe we can take my mic down a bit. I want to start by saying a heartfelt thank you to all of you for making all of this possible. 19 years ago, Brightidea was just an idea in a board engineer's head, and now you can look at what this community has blossomed into. It's truly remarkable. I'm grateful and humbled by the opportunity to speak with you today. And I want you to know that we take this very seriously. We really put a lot of time into it, and we really try and not just designing our tools and our software and the event, but into our point of view, into our ideas, into our ways of looking at the world. And we spend a lot of time trying to distill all that down and get it right, make sure all the pieces fit. And we see it as a kind of gift to you, a gift from us to you, so that once a year at Synthesize, when we have this opportunity to come together, we can give you our best, give you the best of what we have to offer to prepare and equip you for the future. So thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today, and thank you for your support of Brightidea over the years. I'm going to ask two favors today. The first favor is to keep Synthesize cool. And what I mean by that is that what it means to me is anyone can talk to anyone. If this is your first time here, reach out, introduce yourself to a couple people. I think you're going to find them very friendly. All you have to say is, hey, my name's Matt. What's your connection to innovation management? And you'll probably get more than you bargained for out of the conversation. But I promise you'll get some fascinating conversations. And if you've been coming to our events for many years, then great. Be an ambassador, look around, help people out, make sure everyone's having a great time, and it's great to see you again. This is the best way I know to have a great event and make sure everyone feels included. So my talk today breaks down into 5 pieces. I'm going to start with a personal story, and then I'm going to move into how we see the world, what we're doing to support you, an update on the business, and just some programming notes on the event. So, a personal story. About 4 months ago, on June 14th, around 4 p.m., I received a text message that would change my life forever. I was sitting in a meeting in our San Francisco office, wrapping up, and my phone buzzed, and I flipped it over, and Sarah was 6 months pregnant at the time, and at a routine checkup with her doctor, they found that she had high blood pressure, unusually high blood pressure, and they told her she had to go immediately to the hospital and get checked in. Her condition is something called preeclampsia, and it can be fatal to the mother and the unborn child if it's left untreated. So over the next month or so, Sarah was forbidden to leave the hospital and was subject to a barrage of tests and monitoring and a bunch of medications to keep her blood pressure under control. When our son Jackson finally came a month later, it was a full 2 months before his due date. This is not the picture you hope to see on what's supposed to be the happiest day of your life. He was covered with tubes and wires and sensors, and so tiny and so thin and so fragile. There were some really difficult moments for me in the hospital. It's painful to see the people that you love the most suffering, and there's really nothing you can do about it. During one of the long nights in the hospital, I was feeling frustrated and tired and scared, and I had to step outside of the room and walk out into the hallway to compose myself. And I was just feeling really alone and powerless and out of my element. And then I came around a corner and I looked up and I saw this. And I said, hey, I know what that is. That's a grassroots innovation program. And they're engaging the nurses and the staff in innovation, and they're trying to find better ways to serve their patients. And I looked up in the top right corner, and there's this problem-solving sheet, and they were like, doing problem solving, looking at root cause analysis, et cetera. I looked over on the other side, and they were trying to optimize a key metric, and trying to get help from the nurses on that. And I thought, these are my people. I'm home. So for the first time in probably weeks, I cracked a small smile in the hospital. And even in the hospital, I realized they recognize they can't keep doing things the same way they've done them for 100 years. They have to innovate. They have to keep moving forward with progress. So I also looked back and said, sure, it's a paper-based initiative, and they're probably doing these charts in Excel and stuff like that. So it's not perfect, but they are in fact actively managing innovation, and that alone is a big first leap for a lot of organizations. People have to have a place to go with their ideas to improve things, and it looked like they were getting some pretty good results. So kudos to the folks in the hospital. So for the first time in weeks, I sort of, felt a little bit lighter on my feet. And as I continued down the hall, I heard the distinctive click-click as a nurse gelled her hands, and she hurriedly ran into a room. And my eyes flashed to the logo on the gel thing, and it said Ecolab, and I said, Ecolab? I think that's like a new customer that John and Cameron just brought to Brightidea. I was like, that's kind of cool that they're here. And I walked a little further down the road, down the hallway, and I saw this workstation, and it's an HP workstation, also a customer, and that's where the nurses were logging all the events that happened with Sarah and Jackson. And when I came back to the room, I saw Clorox, who you'll hear from later today. Their disinfectant wipes were there. And even the machine that was monitoring Sarah's blood pressure was manufactured by GE. And I had this sort of profound experience. I came to realize I wasn't alone at all. I was walking on this sort of golden path and enchanted path, and all my friends were there, and they were just trying to help my family get well. And it really was a crazy experience. I took all these pictures that night, believe it or not. And it just really had a profound impact on myself. But I'm happy to report that Sarah and Jackson are doing well. So thank you. They're doing really great, and she may be around at lunch today. And I'm eternally grateful to the doctors and the nurses at CPNC. They provided exceptional care to Jackson and Sarah. But I'm also grateful to all the technology that was there and the innovation that was there and available to them. This is the isolate machine that Jackson spent the first month of his life in, and he was quite literally surrounded by technology for that first month of life. And now I know I'm a bit of a weird guy when it comes to innovation, and I look at everything through that lens, but I honestly believe that these machines, these devices, these products that these companies brought to market saved their lives. And had he been born several decades earlier, I don't even like to think about what that might have been like. So everyone here knows how hard innovation is. You have to fight the fight. You have to get budget. You have to build things, and each one of these devices, sensors, products, were once just an idea in someone's head, and somebody fought to make that a reality. Somebody fought to bring that idea into the world. So I really appreciate that people were willing to fight those fights. Someone had to design it, build it, test it, sell it, market it, buy it, deploy it. That's the only way that it even gets to touch my life as a end patient. And someone at each of these companies has to keep the flame of innovation alive. Someone has to be committed to not letting the company go the way of Kodak, or I just heard Sears is filing for bankruptcy. Somebody has to keep that flame alive. And every one of those steps required risks and hardships, and I'm damn glad that those people were willing to fight those battles, because I was just so grateful that those products were there when my family needed them. Sometimes we don't realize how good we have it, just being alive in 2018. So 2 years ago, I stood on stage at Synthesize, and I was looking for charts to kind of show everyone what I felt that innovation had the power to make the world a better place. And this is a chart of infant mortality rates. You can see it's fallen precipitously. It's basically gone from, what are my numbers here? 10% of babies dying in their first year to less than 2% of babies dying in their first year. And it's as if there was this vast global conspiracy of inventors, of innovators, of companies that were all focused on driving down this KPI of babies surviving to see their first birthday. I had no idea at the time how personally I'd be touched by this experience, but less than 24 months later, I was right on the firing lines of that war that we're fighting. So I don't tell this story just because I feel like I'm the luckiest guy in the world because Sarah and Jackson are okay. And I don't tell it just to show off baby pictures like any proud father would, although that's true too. But I tell this story because I believe it speaks to the reason we're all here. And I think it's what this community stands for at its core, and that is that innovation is too important to be left to chance. We can't just let days and weeks go by. We can't just let budgets slip. We can't just like maybe figure it out next year, because there are real consequences to this. And we stand on the shoulders of giants who've gotten us to where we are, and it's our job to pass that baton forward to the next generation. So, whether you look at the macro trend or just one family's experience in the summer of 2018, it's pretty clear to me that it's pretty undeniable that the work we do is absolutely vital. And I thank you guys for being innovation managers, and I thank you for assuring that the light of innovation never goes out. So thank you. Okay, next I'm going to talk about how we see the world and how we see your role in it. So I'm going to start by talking about an academic that I really appreciate, someone I've followed for several years. She's a professor at the London School of Economics, and her name is Carlotta Perez. And, Carlotta is interesting because many academics have studied market bubbles, financial bubbles, and collapse. And other academics have studied technological revolutions that have rolled through society. But Carlotta is one of the few that bring those two disciplines together, bridges those disciplines, and I think she's the best. So I want to give you just a quick overview of some of her thoughts and tell you why I think they're relevant. She points to 5 major technological revolutions that have occurred over the past 250 years, starting in 1771 with the Industrial Revolution, 1829, the age of railways and steam, 1875, we electrify our cities and towns, 1908 is the start of the automobile, and then 1971 is the revolution that we're living through right now, the age of the computer and the internet. And these revolutions didn't just create new industries, they created the potential to transform all existing industries. So they provided a quantum leap in innovation potential for every single industry, every single activity, every single organization on the planet. And they basically found their way into every aspect of life and brought about massive change, this technological change, economic change, social change. And prior to the automobile, if grandma lived in another state and you said, we're going to go visit grandma for the day, she's 100 miles away, that would be ludicrous. That would be unthinkable. How you don't have an automobile, how are you going to get 100 miles away and just go for a day? But post-automobile, that's common sense. Sure, you're just going to go see grandma. That's how profoundly these technologies change everything we know as sort of common sense. Let's see. So each one of these technological revolutions also created a golden age of economic prosperity after the technology was deployed, and that prosperity filtered down to all levels of society. So I just want to go through this a little bit, but do you believe today that we could be on the cusp of a new economic golden age? I believe that we can. Anyone else? Do you believe it? All right. Cool. All right. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, well, this doesn't really feel like a golden age. We've had crashes and economic troubles and inequality is out of control, and you'd be absolutely right in that. Inequality is at the highest levels that it's been since the Roaring '20s, and that was the period that 1/10 of 1% owned more wealth than the bottom 90% of the economy, of the people. But the beauty of Ms. Perez's research is not that this is shocking. It's not that it's a surprise that we're struggling with these things. It's that it's actually a repeatable pattern, that this pattern has played out 5 times in history, and we're living through it again. So I just want to walk through this briefly. You can see here the 5 revolutions that I listed above. And in each case, there was a run-up, a crash, and then a slow build back up. And the classic bubble, bust, and boom cycle. And what I think is interesting about that is that what happens is when investors see the potential of these new technologies, they want in big, and they basically in the age of railways, somebody laid a rail track from a coal mine to London, and they took the price of coal down 50%. And when investors see that type of stuff, they're like, this changes everything. This is a game changer. Like, the world will never be the same. And they just pour money in. And that money, it comes in faster than the technology can actually be deployed into society. So that money comes in, and it boosts up asset prices until they can't get boosted anymore, and then you have a crash, and that leaves the people, basically disillusioned and disenchanted before the technology was ever fully deployed to society. So they over-speculate, if you will, and the bubble goes up and it comes crashing down. Sorry, my slides are lagging here a bit. But in the second half of the cycle, the economy slowly gathers itself back together, and it starts really deploying those technologies, and it achieves massive productivity gains, massive, unthinkable productivity gains when the technology is fully deployed. So, and that's what spawns the new golden age. Now, the good news is, where we are today is we're only halfway through our revolution, and we've actually been through the hard part. We've been through the bubble, the internet bubble, the NASDAQ bubble of 2000. We've been through the crash, and now we're standing at the precipice of this golden age, and all we have to do is deploy these technologies that we have to a productive end. So that's why the theme of our conference this year is a new golden age for innovation, and that's why our party tonight is 1920s Roaring '20s party, because that was the period that predated the last golden age here in the US. So to make this easy for you, we called out 10 key disruptive waves that are going to be incident inside of this digital computing internet bubble. You can see them there. I'm not going to go through all of these. That's for someone else to do. But the list spans things like 3D printing and blockchain and bioengineering. And one thing that's fascinating is if you just take one of these things, McKinsey just put out a report recently analyzing the impact of artificial intelligence, and they predict that AI is going to deliver $13 trillion in productivity gains by 2030. Now, sometimes these numbers get really big, and you kind of don't even know how to frame them, like what's that relative to? Well, that's bigger than the GDP of China every year. So we're going to see productivity gains, collapse, cost reduction of more than a whole China's productive output, almost as much as the whole US's output. So every time you see a made in China sticker on the back of a shirt, think about how much China produces for a year, and AI is going to deliver that in productivity gains. We're basically going to get it for free, that much output, and everyone from China can go work on something else after that. So that's another story. But there is another story that I'll tell, but the tractor, people in the press, they get all hyped up about, oh, AI is going to kill all these jobs, what's going to happen to the Uber drivers, and we've seen this story play out before. When the tractor was first invented, somewhere upwards of 70% of the U.S. was involved in agriculture as their job, and the tractor came in, and yeah, it killed their jobs, but those people didn't go away. They didn't become poets. They moved into they moved into Detroit, and they started making cars. They learned to program, and they built some of the early computers, and they basically started creating the next wave of innovation for us to enjoy. So one thing's for sure about these big trends is you really want to be thinking bigger when you're thinking about them. And I just want to give an example from history. So in the age of steamships in the mid-1800s, previously all boats were sailboats. And when the steamship came around, some enterprising Britons realized that they could take a boat, go all the way to South America, Argentina, or Australia, get produce that had been growing in the summer when it was winter up in England, and then throw it on the boat, get it back to London in 2 weeks. And of course, when they got it back to London in 2 weeks, they sold it at a tidy profit. But also, those people's lives were all made better. I mean, you imagine in the dead of winter, you're all of a sudden bringing in oranges and bananas and meat and cattle that's been doing fine down in the southern hemisphere, but it never previously could make it back to London. So you have these people in these moments in time, and a new technology emerges, and it expands the opportunity space. It expands what's possible. And the really keen folks are sitting there going, I'm on that. I'm going to jump on that. That this steamship has to do something new that the sailboats couldn't do, and I'm going to have to figure it out. Now, in retrospect, it seems very obvious. Oh, yeah, let's just go get the oranges from South America. But in reality, that was not even in people's view at the time. That was just a world away, and no one was really even thinking about that. So again, you have these breakthroughs that are sort of inconceivable in the prior paradigm. This is just one example, but I think what you can do is take this example and apply it with these trends and ask yourself, what's something new that is now possible? And what are some assumptions that are no longer valid about what is impossible? Of course, Elon Musk is a great example of this. But I think there's thousands and thousands of things. These are massive waves of disruption. Artificial intelligence is going to bring $13 trillion of productivity. That's $13 trillion of applications of that technology to bring massive productivity. And when it comes, it's not going to all go to the rich. The historical record shows that wealth is going to trickle down through all levels of society. When the automobile revolution came through Detroit, the people on the factory floor could own a home, they could have a refrigerator, they could own a car, they could participate in the American way of life. We were the envy of the world, and we will do that again because as we deploy these technologies, it's just going to be unbelievably good things that happen, like getting bananas and oranges from Argentina in the middle of the winter in London. So it's pretty cool. You guys are in an awesome spot to take advantage of that. So when I look ahead, sorry, what is this? Yeah, so how do you look at these things and just ask yourself, how do I change the quality of life of my customer? And I think if you can keep that steamship in the back of your head, that I just want to make their life better in a way they couldn't even imagine, it's a really good heuristic to apply these trends. And Genevieve and the product team are going to talk about some new apps that we have about finding killer applications and exploring new market opportunities. I don't want to steal her thunder until later. Okay, now then, what is our view of the world today? Well, we see waves of change and disruption. We see the winds of change forming and blowing, and we see waves of disruption building on the horizon. And each one of these waves brings both possibilities, great opportunities, and great risks. It really just depends on how you look at it. Will you be the enterprising Briton, or will you be the buggy whip company owner that went out of business when automobiles came by? But one of the things that I've always admired about our customers is that when the chaos and the complexity and the disruption was high, they were always willing to just, and the option was to either run for the hills from the tsunami or paddle out and drop in. They've always just grabbed their board and said, surf's up, let's do this. So we're excited that we're going to be on this journey with you for the next few years. So that's how we see the world today. My next part, I'm going to talk about what we're doing to support you to survive and thrive in this world. A year ago at Synthesize, we introduced what we called at the time our new product architecture, and we signaled that we were taking the company in a new direction. And we were moving away from we're moving away from an all-in-one innovation platform toward building discrete products for discrete innovation roles. In the spring, we released our first version of the Brightidea Innovation Cloud. And later today, you'll see the product team up here to talk about Innovation Cloud 2.0. Again, 4 distinct products for 4 distinct innovation roles. So I want to just talk a little bit about this because several people have asked, why are you breaking up your platform into these products? What's the logic behind it? What's the reasoning? And the main reason is that success rates with an all-in-one configurable innovation platform are just too low. You have to be a ninja, you have to be an expert, you have to be reading books on the side, you have to be an innovation genius to basically make this stuff work. And that's fine if you're a small team and you do that, but you try and scale that across the organization, and there are not enough innovation geniuses in your organization, and there's not enough innovation geniuses in the world to be able to do that. So what we're really trying to do is package up these clusters of capabilities and align them with the different unique roles that we see playing out. Starting a career in innovation management can be very, very exciting. You're basically, you're brought in, there's a ton of energy, you see all these opportunities where you can help, all these opportunities, all these things that you can do. But in our experience, the teams that spread themselves too thin, they really, they tend to get themselves into trouble. They kind of just, they try and do too much. They're kind of using one person to do 5 jobs, so we believe that you should really take a slow, measured, steady approach. Each one of these jobs has a skill set required, has muscle memory, has theory, has practice. That's why we draw these halos around the people. It's not just the person, and it's not just the software. It's the expertise required to be successful. And if one day you're doing a problem-solving challenge, and the next day you're doing setting up an open innovation portal, like you end up never getting good at any of it, and you don't deliver the value back to the business. So we felt the strongest way to convey our point of view, and we do have a strong point of view that's been developed over these past 2 decades, was to just render it into the product, just jam it into the product and let it not be something you can ignore. It's going into our products, it's going into our pricing. Across the board, we don't want people to be stuck in a place where they're being asked to do 5 jobs with one person. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to the organization that's sponsoring them. So just to be clear, nobody told us to do this. There were no textbooks that said this is how it's done. And we just thought long and hard about what the biggest problem that our customers were facing, and we decided that this is our solution. And this wasn't the easiest thing to do. Some of our existing customers may actually end up paying less if they can get by with a programs license instead of a full platform license. But we think it was the right thing to do for the category, and we'd rather bet on our vision than just kind of wait around and be a slow follower to other folks. We look forward to hearing your feedback on this. As always, it's a partnership, it's a collaboration, and we will be all ears today, and working through this with you as companies come up for renewal or new customers come in. Cool. So I'm going to talk a little bit about where we're going for the future. Again, what we're doing for you guys to set you up for success. The first topic, just briefly, is really thinking about the platform as a much more open system. Thinking about APIs, thinking about integration, and thinking about how third-party services and data sources can actually touch the ideas that are in the platform, and they can augment the ideas, and they can analyze the ideas, and they can integrate with the ideas. So you're going to see a little bit of this later today in the product presentation, but we think this is just the beginning. When we first started, it was cool. It was a big idea just to make an idea a database object. It was just, okay, we're going to put each individual idea in as an object in the database. People were like, what is that all about? And I think the next major phase shift and transition is opening these ideas up as a programmable object with an SDK where third-party services can hook in and basically expand the idea without any human being even touching it or looking at it. This is the roadmap that we laid out years ago, our master plan, and I think we're tracking pretty nicely. We're about 2/3 of the way to the 3-year mark, and you know, I think we're doing pretty well. The plan was always to win at innovation management, then win at digitally transformed R&D, and then build public internet marketplaces and exchanges for innovation. You see people playing throughout these three horizons, but we believe that this sequencing is the proper sequencing, because if you're just trying to build a marketplace like Innocentive or 9 Sigma, you don't really have the relationships and the data connection with your customers to know what they're looking for. So we think it's better to have all these amazing customers and then be able to leverage that relationship and when we go to build marketplaces and exchanges. Our long-term vision is basically to make innovation on demand. So, so whether you're looking to solve a problem, whether you're looking for the next big thing, whether you want to transform your organization, the second you hit this button, crowds are going to get enabled, ideas are going to come streaming from around the globe. We call it innovation at the speed of light. Now this is a vision, this is the promised land. We're not quite there yet. We get a little closer every year, and we know that there's a massive control room and mission control behind that's required to make that button work. But this is where we think things are heading. You know, we're going to have to we're going to have to manage the crowds. We're going to have to map the processes. We're going to have to capture business impact. But I can almost see that all these individual apps and products interconnecting, and innovation truly becomes the vital activity of the organization. Ideas become the critical resource, and you can manage them all to the advantage of the organization. So just catching up. So the big picture of what we're trying to do here is give you everything you need to shred the waves of disruption. Okay, next I'm going to give you a quick run through of how we're doing at Brightidea. We're seeing tremendous we're seeing tremendous momentum in the business. And I want to just, before I get into that, I just want to kind of share with you the question or address the question of, why should you care if Brightidea is successful? And I think it's a fair question. Why do you care if things are going well for us? I mean, you should just care about your own career, your own company. And it's a fair point, but software markets are funny things, and due to network effects and switching costs, they often end up being winner-take-all scenarios. So if you think about MySpace versus Facebook, you can make an argument that MySpace was I don't know, 80 was second place to Facebook. But MySpace isn't 80% as good as Facebook. MySpace is like 8% as good, or 1% or 0%, right? Like, there are these massive power law dynamics in effect, and when one platform demonstrates leadership, there's a consolidation around it, and there's really no room for second place. So our success has always been dependent on the success of our customers, and now in some way your success is now tied with ours. So I think that I think it's important to say this, because if Brightidea can become the clear and away leader, then it becomes easier for us to recruit world-class engineers and designers to get you all those features you keep asking for. It becomes easier to attract capital. It becomes easier to find great partners. And just in general, it sort of kicks off this virtuous cycle that can really set the company apart. So if this happens, you have our total commitment that we will continue to give you the best platform for corporate innovation management on the planet. So I'm going to run through just a couple key metrics to tell you how we're making out with the business. So as I mentioned, we're seeing tremendous momentum in the business. Brightidea is now the #1 customer-rated idea management platform on G2 Crowd. And what's cool about this is that these new services are customer-driven. They're driven by customer ratings. So it's not some industry analyst who might be conflicted, or someone they're on the dole from some large company like Microsoft or SAP. It's just actual customers, actual users sharing their experiences. And so thank you for everyone who's offered to do a review for us. We really appreciate this, and it sends a great message to the market. So thank you. The next metric is our total registered users. So we peaked above 2 million users for the first time. So it seems like just a few moments ago that we passed 1 million, and this looks like a really positive trend going forward. I think we'll really start to get the heft of being able to transform the way the world innovates as these numbers grow. And last but not least, our North Star metric, which is customer-reported business impact from innovation activities. So you can see here from $280 million to $1.4 billion to $3.7 billion in the last 12 months. So congratulations. It's really remarkable when you think about it, and we don't make these numbers up. Rod's going to talk about this a little later, but it's pretty remarkable that people in this room have driven $3.8 billion of impact. Let's see. I got lost here again. So if you have a golden $sign on your name tag, if you got a golden $sign on your name tag, can you stand up? Anybody? Okay, let's have a round of applause. These are the people that drove this impact. And I would strongly urge anyone who hasn't taken advantage of recording the impact of the innovations that they're managing to do so. I've seen this time and time again when it comes up, or someone's budget's up for approval. It's a really powerful statement to say, here's our ROI, here's what we're generating back for the business. Okay, so that's our update, short and sweet, and we lots of great momentum here for the company and for the platform, and great progress toward our goal of leading the category. And here's my second favor to ask of you. If you like what you see here, if you like what you see today, if you like where we're headed, if you like what we're doing, I just ask that you share it with a friend, tell a friend, and we can buy advertisements and stuff like that, but there's nothing better than somebody who's happy and they're spreading the love. So I promise to pay back your support by ensuring that you'll always have the best fucking innovation platform in the world. Okay. Last but not least, I have a few programming notes for you guys for the event. First off, we've got 3 great presentations this year from Unisys, GM, and Clorox, so thank you guys. I always love that people are willing to come and tell their story, and I think you guys are going to see sort of a new generation, a younger generation. They're gonna shake things up here the way they were shaking things up at their companies. So look forward to that. Let's see. After lunch, we've got a lively conversation with Naveen from Clorox, and we're going to talk about how they've taken this 100-year-old company and brought it to the vanguard of open innovation and innovation ecosystems. So looking forward to that conversation. And as I mentioned earlier, Genevieve and the product team will be here later to show you the new release of the Brightidea Innovation Cloud 2.0. Some really exciting stuff, so look forward to that. So last but not least, I just wanted to say, oh, sorry, there's a couple more things here. We've got workshops on day 2, so that's going to be great. We've got a couple, this is the first time for us to bring in some partners, and you might have seen them at breakfast, friends and partners that are doing some really cool stuff, and we just thought it was cool to let you guys see that. So please go by, check them out. They're not vendors, they're friends, and you can talk to them. They're cool people, and you know, say hello and just you know, ask them what they're up to. I think you're going to hear some pretty cool stories. Okay, let's see. Continuing our tradition of sort of offering a cultural experience as part of the event, we've persuaded the museum to open up the Magritte exhibit upstairs. And Magritte is a really interesting artist to have access to as part of our event, because he not only was a surrealist, but he was a conceptual artist. And what defines conceptual art is that the idea is more important than the technique or the aesthetics or the materials. So you'll if you go up there, you'll see things where he's just like playing with what is possible. And you know, I think about this as sort of you know, 80 years or 100 years before Photoshop. He was doing things that now people do in Photoshop, and just kind of like plays with your mind a little bit. And it's fascinating that before him, no one had ever thought to do this. People would do representative paintings or impressionist paintings, but no one ever really did these conceptual, you know, art. So The Son of Man is probably his most famous painting, and it's under private ownership. So I'd recommend just going. It's worth the effort to go up to the 4th floor. Excuse me, just to see that. And even if you're not an art fan, you can later say, hey, I saw that painting in person. So also a tie-in with our 20s and Golden Age theme, because Magritte was painting in the 20s and through the 60s. So, and we do also have this Roaring 20s party. So hopefully many of you have brought costumes. They're safely checked at the coat check. We're going to be departing straight from here. So after the main presentations are finished, we'll go out into the lobby. There'll be some drinks. People have time to change, kind of get settled down, and then we'll have buses swooshing you away to a undisclosed location for our Roaring 20s party. We'll party like it's 1929. So I've got one closing thought, and then we can kick this whole thing off. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you for coming. Thank you for doing what you do, for making more innovation happen, because I believe the world needs you now more than ever. And when I come to Synthesize and I meet the people here and I chat with them and I talk and I learn from them and I'm inspired by them, it just you know, fills me with gratitude, and hear what they're saying, hear how they're changing their companies. It really makes me happy. But more than anything, it allows me to look into my little guy's eyes and know that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that he inherits a better world than we did. So thank you, and have a great Synthesize.